I'm Steve Reick. I represent the 63rd District here in McHenry County in Illinois. Too often we stand here before you to tell you what's wrong with DCFS. We don't need to do that today because everyone knows what the problems are. I want to talk to you today about solutions. For the first time since I started focusing on the problems that plague this agency, DCFS has begun to listen to us, Republican legislators, to the kind of ideas that we have that aren't meant to tear the agency down, but to give it the tools it needs to move forward. This isn't going to happen overnight, but we have to start somewhere, and we believe that it starts at the top. And by that, I don't mean wholesale change, because a new regime would have to then begin the slow task of redeveloping institutional knowledge that can only come from consistent leadership. What I'm talking about is peeling away the layers of administrative bloat that the agency has acquired and putting those resources into the hands of investigators and child welfare workers, where the real work happens and where that money belongs. This year, Republican proposals have focused upon doing just that. We're taking a hard look at what the agency is doing and what might be better done somewhere else. Among the proposals among the following. I put forth a bill to require DCFS to institute a case tracking system, a caseload tracking system with yearly reports to the General Assembly as to the ongoing case files, operation of the caseload management system itself, the ratio of active files to personnel, and how appropriations can be structured to incentivize caseload management. It starts with that. It starts with the ability of our people to do their jobs at the local level. Also, we need to move background checks away from DCFS and into the Illinois State Police, where they are better able to do those things. That's a function DCFS does that takes resources away from investigations. We need to initialize the movement of services provided under the Family First Prevention Services Act from DCFS to other agencies, which will avoid the necessity of involvement by the child welfare system. We've simply, recently we had several subject matter hearings on just that thing, and it was made very plain that DCFS does not have to be the agency providing those services. We think it can be done in a better place. Intact family services should be mandatory for any family that's at risk. Tom talked about his bills dealing with the involvement of law enforcement and the ability of the state's attorney to see completed investigative reports, as well as the ombudsman program. This may be a departure from what you've heard from us in the past. It is. We have often been perceived as obstructionist. We Republicans are often seen as the party of no. It's a departure because we're now finally having conversations. We're having conversations where we're talking to each other instead of past each other. The need to reform DCFS reaches into every one of the 102 counties in Illinois. Republican and Democrat, we all hear from families embroiled within the agency, and we often hear from workers themselves in DCFS who have the courage to step forward and see the problems as they see them in their day-to-day jobs. Our proposals are coming from the words of both of those groups. The Adoption and Child Welfare Committee, of which I'm the minority spokesperson, has set a tone of bipartisan dialogue with DCFS that recognizes that we have to and we can work together to solve these problems. Good ideas come from many places. The goal here is to bring DCFS back to its core mission of protecting children by making changes to put the focus of the agency back on that core mission. We're going to make a lot more progress through collaboration than banging our spoons on our high chairs and pointing fingers. These problems aren't going to be solved anytime soon, but can't be solved without collaborative effort. And we, Republican members of the Illinois caucus of the Illinois House, believe that the proposals we've described above are a really good start.
Representative Reick, you said it, I haven't really heard DCFS discussed like that, so can you dig in maybe a little bit to how they're listening, what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'd like to, because you know something, all of a sudden we're starting to get, I think we're gaining traction in what we're trying to accomplish here. I've had some very good conversations with DCFS personnel over the past couple of months in my capacity both as a representative and as the spokesperson on the Adoption and Child Welfare Committee. I think a lot of props go out to the committee itself because of our willingness to work together, because we all understand, and I think we're joined at the hip on what we're trying to accomplish here. So I think that a lot of credit goes for that. But the agency itself is starting to find common ground with what we're proposing, and I believe that with collaborative effort, that we work together, we can make this happen. We can take this agency from what it is and perceived to be to something that can become a model of child welfare in the United States. But it's, like I said, it starts at the top. We have to peel that onion of administrative bloat. There's far too much stuff at the top that isn't floating down to the actual investigations and child welfare services that need to be provided. So to the extent that DCFS is willing to talk to me and to us, I am certainly willing to talk to them. And I'll tell you what, my attitude has changed, because when people start talking to you instead of avoiding you or talking around you, then a lot of good stuff can happen, and I'm seeing a lot of good stuff happening. And I'm not going to stop that by being negative about anything having to do with it as long as that conversation continues.
Are there any Democrats that are that you're sitting down with and talking to?
You bet. The whole committee, our adoption committee. And like I said, there are 102 counties in the state. Not one of them doesn't have an issue with something going on with DCFS. And I get emails from all over the state. I get calls from all over the state from DCFS workers and from parents who finally know that there's somebody who's willing to return that phone call or that email or sit down and talk with them. And it's happening on both sides of the aisle. I've talked to every member of the Illinois General Assembly in the House side, and there isn't one of them who doesn't want to fix this problem.
Will they join you?
I believe they will. Yeah. We've done some bipartisan things already, and we're going to continue doing bipartisan things because, again, we're only 40 members here. We're a minority. We're super minority. We can't work without the folks on the other side of the aisle. But you know something? They see the problems as well. And I've come to them with several of the solutions that I've tried to offer. And they've gone, you know, it's not a bad idea. Let's talk about it. And that's all I can ask.
And when you say starts at the top, are you talking about director? Are you talking about the layers of bureaucracy adjacent to the director?
I'm really talking both. And let me be plain, I'm not calling for the director's removal at all, because like I said, you know, when the DCFS worked best about 20-some years ago, we had continuity of leadership. We had institutional knowledge within the agency as to what worked and what didn't. If you're constantly rotating directors and new administrations within the agency, you lose that institutional knowledge. You lose the people at the bottom who are the investigators and the child welfare specialists upon whom this agency depends. And what happens is that if there's no leadership, if there's no consistent leadership, then you're going to continue to lose that, and you're going to lose kids. What I'm trying to do is remove the impediments that stand in front of an agency at the top by moving background checks out, licensing, families first, moving that to those services to other agencies, so that we don't even have to bring those services. You don't have to be in contact with the Child Welfare Service before you avail yourself of those services, because that's the way that program was meant to be done. And I think that DCFS is starting to see that. We had a wonderful subject matter hearing in Chicago a couple weeks ago, where the Casey Foundation laid it out completely straightforward. And I want to take it down that path. And I think that the Democrats on our committee especially are willing to do that as well.